women are covered, or they cover their face with veils to show a sign of modesty. And usually in like Middle Eastern countries, it covers everything up to here. You know, so only the eyes have shown. So if you read in the book of Genesis, for example, when Jacob was getting his bride, he describes Leah, whom he loves, Rachel, whom he loves, as having pleasant eyes or pleasing eyes, because that's all he could see because she was veiled. Whereas Leah was homely because she had harsh eyes. So that was the difference. That's how he judged their beauty. That's all he could see. Because, and if you think about our wedding ceremonies to this very day, brides come down the aisle and what do they wear?
Veil.
A veil. Because the idea is that you were to show a sense of modesty. You weren't to reveal yourself to your husband, if you will, until the wedding night. Then, if you will, all is revealed. And you share yourself in the most intimate manner by literally unveiling your whole self to the one whom you are married. That was the sense of biblical modesty in those days. And to some extent, we see that displayed in modern Middle Eastern countries. Now, granted, in some cases it's quite extreme, and it's more of a, if you will, degradation to women, a put down, you know, making them second-class citizens and so forth. I get that. But in this sense, and in this day and age that Solomon is writing, approximately 1000 BC, the idea of modesty was that women covered themselves. Even to this day, you look at statues of our Blessed Mother, and what does she have? She wears this veil over her head. Now, she's not covered like this, but they had this sense of covering of oneself, because that was the custom to show a sense of modesty. Okay? So one of the things that we learn about this bride to be, and at this point she is becoming his bride, at this stage, this is the wedding section of the Song of Solomon, is that she has this sense of modesty because he doesn't see this except behind her veil. So that tells something about her inner character that Solomon is falling in love with. This says something about the inner character that God the Father sees in us. Are you following me, the analogy here? Okay. So now let's go through this. Hair is like a flock of goats moving down the slope of Gilead. Teeth are like a flock of shorn ewes that have come up from washing, all of which bear twins, and not one of them is bereaved. In other words, she has a full set of teeth. She's not toothless. So in other words, there's a sense of hygiene and care that she has about her appearance, because this was not easy in those days. Remember, there's no toothbrush, there's no toothpaste, okay? There's no oil of Olay for you to go to the corner drugstore to get, ladies. So to be able to maintain your appearance and your health was quite a task back then. I mean, we think in terms of modern beauty and beauty products and health. This is 1000 BC. This is a peasant girl, if you will. How do I know that? Because she's been out in the sun. Remember, we've already dealt with that. She's dark but lovely because she's been out in the sun. She's tan. She works out there. So she is not of the royal family where she's pampered and taken care of. She's managed to survive. And here's another little tidbit that you may not be that privy to. Nowadays, and this is something very basic, and again, we don't normally think about it nowadays because we're so far removed from this. When you go and buy a loaf of bread, right? do you expect to find little bits of gravel in it? Why not? Why not? It's been processed, right? We have a way in modern times of taking wheat, grinding it, sifting it, and getting a type of fine flour so that all that's there is wheat powder. There's no other bits and pieces in there. You realize that literally back in the ancient times, and really until very modern times, like within the last, I don't know, maybe, I'll be generous, 200 years. That's probably too far. Really maybe 100 years. That the process of making bread is that you have this huge millstone and you put the grain underneath it, you roll it over it, and it grinds it. It's stone against stone, right? Well, this powder, this wheat powder you get out, is usually mixed with the stone. So you get gravel bits in your flour when you bake your bread. So when you bite into it, guess what? Grind, it's like biting into sand if you're not doing it right. That's why the Bible talks about fine flour or fine wheat. Because you would take that wheat powder and sift it until you could get the gravel bits, the bigger gravel bits out. Now, why do I mention that? Because back in the days, if you would grind on enough of that kind of bread, it ruins your teeth. Try eating a rock and see what that does to your teeth. If it scratches and grinds your teeth, guess what you get? Cavities. And what happens when you have cavities? Pain. And what do you do to get rid of the pain? Pull out your teeth. You see what I'm saying? Because that's the only cure back then. They don't give you caps. They don't give you crowns.
Root canal.
No root canal. It hurts, yank it out. So when he says that she has all of her teeth and they're all in this format, he's talking about the kind of care that she is giving to herself, and how unusual this is, and what a beauty that is. See, we don't think of that nowadays, but if you look at and examine, for example, Egyptian mummies, very well preserved despite the centuries, and you look at the pharaoh's teeth, they can tell if the pharaoh had good bakers or poor bakers because of the grinding of the enamel on the teeth from the bread that they were eating. And the poorer the person, the more damage to the enamel and to the teeth because of this kind of grinding of the flour. You get these gravel bits, these little stone bits in your bread. So you're chewing on bread that's got gravel bits in it. Right? We don't think of that nowadays because our refining processes are so much more advanced. That's a non-issue. But back then, it's common. It's common. Okay? So just something to, and I point this out because we tend, especially in our 21st century reading of the Bible, to read our lifestyle ways into the scriptures. And that's not the way to do it at all. You have to get into the time and culture in which they were written to see what they experienced, not what we think they should have experienced. And this is one of the day-to-day things that our modern sensibilities don't even think about. But back then, it was important. So when he says this, he's giving her a big compliment. Verse 3, your lips are like scarlet thread, your mouth is lovely, your cheeks are pomegranates behind the veil, so that means she's got some color. Not necessarily cosmetic, but it could be. It could be. Even poor folk back in the day could get flowers and, you know, like they see the queens do or the royalty do. Yeah, they could do that because it's a cosmetic sign of beauty. It's not uncommon. Or it could mean that she's got this healthy, natural glow about her that is attracting him. Either way. It could be either way. Your neck is like the Tower of David, built for an arsenal, whereupon hang 1,000 bucklers, and all of them shields of warriors. So she wears jewelry around her neck, a nice necklace of some kind. Your breasts are like two fawns, twins of a gazelle that feed among the lilies. Until the day breathes and the shadows flee, I will hasten to the mountain of myrrh and the hill of frankincense. This is, I believe, the second or third time we've heard of frankincense and myrrh in the Song of Songs. Now, I've heard these two before. Where have we heard these before? Three kings bring these same gifts to our Lord. And what's the significance of those? For Jesus, it has a different significance than what's here in the Song of Songs. But in both cases, in the Song of Songs, I would say that the myrrh and frankincense refers to the beauty, the scent, the aromas of royalty. She is not royal, but she elicits this, she has this beauteous glow, this scent about her that draws him to her. When we refer to it with Jesus, the significance of the gold, the frankincense, and myrrh is this. Hello. Here we go. So the three gifts. Oh, why are we in trouble? Oh, maybe my battery's dead. Darn it. Gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Okay, what's the significance of that? These are symbolic gifts of who Jesus is in his office on earth. Gold refers to his kingliness, his kingship. Okay, because kings get gold. It also has a subtle hint of his divinity because the temple was made of gold in the Holy of Holies. So anything that was gold is holy. Okay, so there is a hint, a subtle hint of his divinity. Because remember, the kings went to go and worship him. So they had a sense that he was divine, not just merely human. Okay? Frankincense. This has to do with his priestly duties. Why? Because frankincense was the type of incense that was used in the temple. It was one of many types of incense that was used in the temple. Okay? Myrrh. A prophet. What does myrrh have to do with prophet? All the prophets were killed. And myrrh is used as an embalming agent, as a perfume that you would put on a burial for someone. So when the wise men bring gold, frankincense, and myrrh, they're talking about Jesus being prophet, priest, and king. He is a prophet, he's a priest, and he's a king. So that's the significance of the gifts, or the symbolic nature of the gifts. These are also very valuable. I'm sure Mary and Joseph used the gold, the frankincense, and the myrrh to help them on their journey to Egypt and to help relocate themselves when they were there, and whatever left over to get them back to Nazareth. I mean, that was no summer vacation they took. I mean, they stayed when they fled Bethlehem to Egypt. They stayed there for a while. They had to relocate. They had to pay rent and everything else. So I'm sure God provided in the form of these gifts that they later sold and helped them with their living and travel expenses. I'm sure that's the reason why he gave them to them. I just thought of this, just on a side. I never thought of this, but you know, with all the relics and stuff that are collected by the church, I wonder if there's any church or place that claims to have the original gold, frankincense, and myrrh. I never thought of that. You know, I know that in Rome there's the claims of the coins that Judas got to betray Jesus. On the silver coins that were used to betray Jesus on display. They may be possible. I don't know why anyone would want to keep that, but anyway, if they had things like that, I just wondered if this was the gold that the wise men gave. Just a thought. If someone want to look it up on the internet and get back to me, let me know. Let's continue with this. So, I will hasten to the mountain of myrrh and the hill of frankincense. You are all fair, my love. There is no flaw in you. Now, if that isn't love, I don't know what is. All I can see is that you're all perfect, my dear. Oh, there's nothing wrong with you. Right? This is obviously someone who's deeply in love, you know. It's like the beloved talking about the lover. Oh, he's so strong and handsome and love. You don't hear about him not taking the garbage out or leaving the cap off of the toothpaste again or dropping it. He never puts the clothes in the hamper. You don't hear any of that in this. Oh no, he's all this. He's just a stag that leaps from mountain to mountain. Right? And this, oh, you are all fair, my love. Oh, there's not a flaw in you.